Hi, welcome to the Hidden Hues of Motherhood. In today's episode, we are going to talk about a transfer of ambition. Have you ever wondered what happens to your ambition after you step away from your career? Specifically, what happens when you step away from your career to take care of kids full time? I sit down with my dear friend Stephanie, a brilliant former lawyer who once thrived in the world of structure, arguments, and advocacy, and who now channels that same fire into the chaos, the beauty, and the quiet power of stay-at-home motherhood. Together, we talk about the unexpected ways our gifts, our passions, and our drive can evolve when our titles shift from professional to mama. This conversation is full of heart, reflection, and a powerful reminder that ambition does not disappear. It just transforms. So let's dive in. Stephanie, thank you so much for coming on our podcast. I can't tell you how awesome it is to have you as my first guest. We've been friends for about a year now, and we've had a lot of conversations, deep conversations about motherhood and about our lives before motherhood. I don't know that much about your life before motherhood because most of the time we don't have time to talk about anything else.
It's true.
But motherhood.
Yes.
So I'm really excited that we have this time for me to know you a little bit better.
Sure, yeah.
So tell me tell me first, what was your thought when you graduated high school? Where did you grow up and how did that kind of unravel for you?
So I grew up in Central Florida on the coast, on the East Coast, in a beach town, a little beach town. I got into some colleges and thought, I'm not taking this too seriously.
Yeah.
I went to UCF, which is in Orlando, and I just knew it was a fun school. I went to a college prep high school, and that was really tough, and I thought, I just want to take it a little easier now, which maybe not the best idea, but 18-year-old Stephanie doesn't really, didn't really care. But I went to UCF and I loved it. It's an amazing school.
And you were in Orlando,
Yes,
my gosh, where you grew up in the same state, close to family, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it was only an hour from home. Might have been a mistake because I went home way
all the
too
time.
much. like every weekend, and my mom was like, "I'm paying for you to live in another city. Stay in that city."
Yeah.
But
oh my gosh.
it was nice to come home and be on the beach and see my friends that were there. And then in college, I just kind of jumped around. At first, I was studying film. I really loved film and did stuff in high school about that. Yes, I loved editing.
Cool. Oh my gosh, my brother is an editor. That's so cool.
That's what I liked originally. Went and did classes for that. And then I decided it was too difficult to get the classes I wanted. And I kind of wavered on what to do. And my dad was a car dealer and he owned car dealerships, and they kind of wanted me to take over because I started working there when I was 12. And I worked in a lot of different areas, but I didn't know if I wanted to do that either.
Yeah.
And so I took a bunch of classes and I did what's called an interdisciplinary degree.
Oh, wow. So it's undecided.
It was you could have 2 majors and a minor, and that made up your degree.
Oh, wow.
So I did business and marketing and had a minor in criminal justice just because I thought it was interesting. And then I did a second minor in legal studies. And that's how I kind of decided I liked law and started looking into that.
Wow, that is so interesting. So you kind of took that time to explore what you wanted to do, because honestly, who knows at that age what they want to do? And I was one of the lucky ones who knew right off the bat since I was 5, but the majority of the people don't know when they get to high school what they want to do. And we live in such an amazing country where we have the opportunity to kind of experiment and dip our toes here and there.
No, it was really nice, yeah.
So then by the time you finished college, you kind of had a better idea.
I wanted to go to law school. I did work in marketing, and I did work in different businesses. And I really liked my law classes. So then I interned with a lawyer that I knew, and he did criminal defense, and I just loved it and thought it was great.
Wow.
So then I decided I'm going to go to law school. Even if I don't become a lawyer, it's great to have the degree.
Yeah.
And so I studied for that. You have to take the LSAT and have good grades. And then I interned with a judge the summer before law school, which was really fun as well.
That is so cool. So you were like lived like real life legally blind kind of.
A little bit.
Like except with like so much of the glamour, I would imagine, just because that's not realistic. But within the classes that you had related to law, did you experiment within law, like try out judicial law? And I don't know much about like all the different laws, because I know that your husband does immigration law, which is really cool. So how did you decide on that specific category?
So there's not much in college with the different law classes you can take, because it's sort of intro to law and intro to law school.
Okay.
But once you get to law school, you have to learn everything, because the bar tests you on everything.
Oh my god!
You don't get to just say, I'm going to be a criminal defense attorney. I only want to learn this, and I only want to be tested on this. So you study everything. But I worked for a company or a law firm that did auto franchising law, so car dealership franchising law, since I knew the business with my dad. And that was great. I loved that. But it was mostly contracts. And then I did what's called an externship. So it's like an internship basically, but you do it through the school. And I did it at the public defender's office. And so I was in court handling cases with an attorney above me. But I did everything in the case. They just had to oversee it. And I just fell in love with being in the courtroom, being and doing those things, and helping indigent clients. So that's how I ended up going to be a public defender.
That is so cool. So once you did you have to do the bar first before getting into law school?
No, the bar is what you take afterwards to become a lawyer.
Oh, I see. So once you got to law school, where did you go to law school, and how was that transition from going from undergraduate to big leagues law school?
Yeah, it was a big change, because undergrad was quite easy for me because I had that college prep high school.
Yeah.
I had already learned a lot of what I was learning in college, and I took it very casually and didn't study a lot, which I was blessed that I'm good at testing.
Not me. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
It's like one of the things I'm decent at is taking tests. So
That's
I did great in college without doing much work at all.
Wow.
And then that was in Orlando. I went to Tallahassee at Florida State for law school. So that was about 4.5, 5 hours from my parents, much further away.
Yeah.
And it was the first time I ever really had to study in my life, and it was horrifying.
Oh my gosh. It's like what I would imagine my husband went through at medical school, it's a lot of reading.
A lot of reading. I didn't know how to study properly and like what would work for me. So like first semester, I called my mom and I was like, I'm coming home. I can't do this. I'm not cut out for this.
Oh my gosh.
And she's like, just try to stick it out. If you fail your classes, who cares? You don't have to go back, but just stick it out.
Yeah, yeah.
So lots of tears. I stuck it out. And the first semester was okay. It was B's and a few C's, which was great. But at me being A's, no problem. It was like, this is horrible. How can I get B's and C's? And then the next semester, I started to figure out how I learned and what was the best studying techniques for me.
Right.
And so then it started getting easier and better. So that worked out.
Right. And I feel like a lot of us have that experience, whether it's with undergrad or whether you go out and do a specialty afterwards for a master's degree. I had a very similar kind of experience when I went to conservatory, and I, was just focusing on musical theater, and I knew that I needed to do dance and all this. But once I started, I was like, this is nuts. This is not what I expected. And I did the same thing. I called my mom up first semester of school, and I was like, Mom, these kids are way younger than me. They have more energy. They're just like, I don't know if I can do this. Just leave it to moms to give us, that push and the courage that we need to keep going forward. Tell tell me a little bit about your relationship with your mom since we're in the picture. Like, how much did she play into helping you kind of succeed in fulfilling your degree in law school and then becoming a lawyer?
Tremendously. My mom is fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm adopted. I was adopted at birth.
Oh my God.
So
Wait, how did I not know that? That's so cool.
So I've only known my parents as my parents, and 100% they were meant to be my parents.
Yeah.
Because I'm a 50-50 of my mom and my dad.
Yeah.
And I've never felt any differently, but I've always known that I'm adopted. It was just my mom told me I grew in her heart instead of her belly.
Oh my God, that's so beautiful.
Yes, it was so sweet. And I had the most encouraging parents growing up. They really, we were lucky enough that we had the money that I could try different things and do different things without it becoming a burden. Like it can be, you know, doing dance and doing soccer and doing basketball, trying all these things. Just trying to pay for my kids' things now. It's
now as
insane.
moms, we know, right?
Yes.
I literally just had this conversation with my mom. I was like,
hard.
how in the world did you pay for all of these extracurricular activities?
Right.
And we were not well off. And my mom recently just told me, she was like, yeah, well, you don't know this, but I actually had a nighttime job at a diner.
Gosh.
And I'm like, no wonder you were always so tired and grumpy.
Right. The things they do for us.
Right. The sacrifices that they did that now we are doing, but in different ways. We're sacrificing things in different ways. Right. But sacrifice is sacrifice. And just having our moms there to encourage our careers. And, you know, money comes and goes. And but that support system, that encouragement, that belief that our parents and our moms specifically, because as women, having our mothers kind of give us that validation is so important as we're young and becoming women and now as mothers.
I'm 36 and I still call my mom, I'm looking for this in the grocery store and I can't find it. Where is it?
Exactly. Oh my God.
I rely on her so much.
It's like, oh my gosh, there's a whole entire aisle of the same thing. Which brand is good? And she will know. She will know. So that's really awesome to see that connection with your mom from you with your career and supporting you and not just getting to becoming a lawyer and to going to law school, but that freedom of exploring. Because I feel like a lot of people are not as lucky to have that from their parents.
I see that, and I see it for other people who had a career like me. Their parents spent a lot of money to put them through school, which mine did, and I'm so blessed to have had that since I didn't have to have student debt.
Yeah.
But it's like when I decided I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, my mom was like, that's fantastic. You get that time with your kids. And I'm so worried they're going to be like, well, we wasted all this money on this degree. But all she wanted was for me to be happy. If you want to be a lawyer, that's great. You want to be home with your kids, that's great. And, you know, she didn't even push me to have kids. You know, she kept saying, my goal in life was to have kids, but that doesn't have to be your goal in life. She's like, of course, I'd love to be a grandma, but that's your choice, and I can't choose that for you.
Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. It is such a privilege to have that freedom from your parents, and then to just be able to kind of like live your own life and take your own path, but allow them to just help you, to guide you through those times in your life.
Yes.
Let's talk about Chad. Did you meet Chad in law school?
Yes.
Oh, okay. How did that transition from, you know, being kind of on your own, going through this career path, getting to law school? How did you guys meet? And
so I actually had a boyfriend when I met my now husband.
oh my gosh, okay.
But nothing inappropriate ever happened. We just were friends. And I got out of that relationship. It wasn't good for me or right for me at the time. So it was a little hard. It was a long distance thing when I was in law school, and I held back a lot on going out and doing things with my friends there because I felt guilty. So it was good that I like stepped away from that and started exploring more and doing more with my friends in Tallahassee. And that's where Chad came in because he was one of those friends, and we just did a lot of stuff together. I graduated a year before he did.
Oh, okay.
But I stayed working in the same area. I worked in Gadsden County, which is outside of Tallahassee. And so I lived there working while he was in his last year of law school. And then I I had already taken the bar and I'm working, and I said, I think I'm going to take the New York bar.
Yeah.
And he said, I think I'll take it with you. And
Oh
so
my
at this
gosh.
point we were dating in his last year. And then he had already signed up for Florida and he deferred it. And then we took New York and New Jersey right after he graduated, because they only give the bars twice a year.
Okay.
So we did New York and New Jersey together. And then he did Florida the next year, but he got a job in New York right away.
Wow.
Moved to New York, and I was still in Tallahassee working, trying to get a job in New York.
Right.
And it didn't work out at that time.
Right.
He ended up coming back to Florida because I just couldn't get a job. Because basically everybody told me, you're already working and we have law students flooding the city looking for jobs, so we just can't hire you right now.
Oh my
And it was
gosh.
like, oh, my boyfriend's there. I want to get up there.
Yeah.
But it didn't work out. We got there eventually.
Yeah.
But he moved back to Florida and we moved to Orlando together and got jobs in Orlando.
Oh, okay. So Chad was in New York.
Yep.
You were still in Florida. It didn't work out timing wise getting there. And then he came back to Florida. And so how long were you in Florida? How long did you kind of practice there?
So I I graduated in 2014 and we moved to New York City in 2021. So I practiced in all that time in Florida.
Okay.
But 2014 to 2016, I was in North Florida. And then 2016 to 2021, I was in Orlando. And they were very different atmospheres for law and criminal defense in the public defender's office.
Oh, wow. Tell me 3 things that you love at the time that you really loved about law and practicing and kind of working with the people that you worked with.
Sure. I loved helping indigent clients and being sometimes the only person who ever believed in them or helped them.
Can you
with
explain
something.
a little bit more about
Sure.
the indigenous people that you helped?
Sure. These were people who couldn't afford to have an attorney, so we got appointed to them for their criminal cases. And so if you were charged with any crime, I mean, I started in low misdemeanor crimes, but I was all the way up into sex crimes and attempted murders and things by the time I left. We were appointed, our office was appointed, an attorney was appointed to your case. And we always get a bad rep of public pretenders. We're not real lawyers, but we are most definitely real attorneys who care an awful lot about the case and about these people. And it's okay because it's a thankless job. Yeah. But I'm happy to believe in somebody who needs it, who hasn't had it. And people always say, how can you defend somebody who's guilty? And I say, the same way I defend someone who's innocent. Yeah. It's the same either way. My job was to make the government prove that somebody had done something wrong. My job wasn't to necessarily prove they're innocent, even if they're guilty, and make sure they're not, to get people off. It was, if the state's accusing you of something, they better be able to prove it. So that's how I took my job, because I'm protecting the people from the government, basically. And so it was important to me to help people I did a lot of juvenile work. So I was a lot of times the only person that juvenile had in their life that cared for them or cared about their case or helped them with things. Wow. So that was tough, but it was very rewarding. So I would say that's number one I love about practicing law. I loved being in the courtroom. Yeah. I always call myself a lazy attorney because my husband is an immigration attorney. So all he does is read and write and do that's all he's doing most of the time. Reading, writing, talking to people, where I could be lazy and I could just show up to court today because we have a new thing going on. And then, I get the paperwork as I'm sitting there and I wing it from there. So I didn't have to do a lot of prep work because you can't. Yeah. And so I'm doing all these things this wasn't all of my hearings, but sometimes there are things you're just getting that day and you deal with it on the fly. And I was like, I'm lazy. I don't have to.
So it was impromptu. A lot of it was very much impromptu. I'm going to stop you because so far the 2 things that you love about your job sound so much like motherhood. I don't know if you put 2 and 2 together, but the first one was
helping people.
And it doesn't matter what our kids do or don't do.
No.
It is our job to advocate for them.
Yes.
And so the fact that you're saying that that's a part of law that you loved doing, a part of your job was advocating for people who aren't seen or heard because of their background is so amazing, because a lot of the times that's what motherhood is. Kids are kids, and people are going to try and treat kids like they're dumb, like they don't have space in this world because of their age.
Yes.
But it is our job as mothers to advocate for them and to listen to them and to help them, regardless of them being, misbehaving or doing the right thing or doing the wrong thing, because they're our kids. So I love to hear that was a part of your job, because I totally see that as you as a mom. You advocate for your kids. You're always there to support them no matter what. That is very cool. The second one was...
that I'm lazy.
No, not that you're lazy. That it's impromptu.
Yes, it's impromptu.
Nobody sat us down and explained how to, if this scenario comes up with your child. No, everything is like, we got to take it minute by minute.
Yes, and I do love being on the fly and impromptu. I'm not great at scheduling and planning things.
See, I am very type A, but even being type A and trying to plan everything out as
kids
a mother.
Don't care.
No, they do not. They go to the beat of their own drum, and we just kind of are along for the ride, So we have to be quick thinkers. We have to be quick on our feet too, physically, literally. And that is so cool that your job really, the skills that you learned from law kind of transitioned into being a mom.
Right, definitely.
Yeah.
They definitely did.
Do you have a third one?
There are lots of things I love about law. So I love that, I love in particular for criminal law that the people get to be involved, like in juries and things like that. I love community involvement with that. And I like being in a trial and arguing to a jury and having them make a decision. That part is just, it's fun for me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very serious.
Negotiating.
It's important. Negotiating, and do lots of more than that than I do of trial work. I like being in front of people and doing those sorts of things.
That's awesome. I feel like the negotiating aspect also works into parenting. Compromising with a little child is like compromising with a client who is hard-headed.
I have said over and over that I had some of the most difficult, unreasonable clients you can ever deal with, and my toddlers are worse.
Oh my God. I completely see that. I totally see that.
Because there's zero reasoning. And so they just know this is what I want, and you cannot reason.
Oh yeah. No, but you got to find your own ways to kind of not manipulate them, but make them think that it's their idea to kind of, go along with what you think is the right way to go. So that's so cool that those three aspects of law, I know you said you have so many, but those three really translates into motherhood.
It does.
Let's talk about your journey from Florida to New York. You said it was maybe around 2022?
2021. I think, yeah.
Oh.
Because I believe it was a year. Yeah. Judah, I'm going to do this by math. My son was about 18 months when we first started figuring it out. So I went back to work at 11 weeks after I gave birth to Judah.
Oh, okay. So Judah was born in Florida?
In Florida, in Orlando.
Got it.
So I went back to work 11 weeks, which was crazy. But Florida doesn't have parental leave, so...
Oh my gosh, that's a whole other episode, ladies and gents.
And so I worked for a year with him, a year and a half about with him in daycare. And then my husband got a job with a firm in New York City, but it was COVID. So it was 2020. This was, he was working from Florida for the New York law firm. And they said, eventually you're going to have to come up here. And we were fine. We were ready. I was ready for a break. I got a bit burnt out being pregnant and then having a kid and having to read the cases that I was reading over and over again, like the sexual abuse cases and the traumatic type cases. I just was a bit burned out with my hormones on top of it. And so I was like, great, well, I'll take this opportunity to take a break from working, to take care of Judah up when we move. And then when he goes to school, I'll look to go back to work. And so we moved in November of 2021, but I quit my job in July to sell our house. And we lived in the Florida Keys for a month because we just thought it would be fun before we moved up
That's
to
so
live in the
awesome.
Keys while he was still working from home. And then we moved, and so that my husband could work in the city. And then I was home full time with Judah. So it was a brand new opportunity for me.
Wow. So did you work full time when you were pregnant with Judah?
Yes.
Wow. From home, or were you going into the... Wow.
In the office.
Wow. And
I was in the jail. I was in the courtroom.
Wow. This is during COVID.
So I had him before COVID.
Right.
And then in my 11 weeks, I went back. COVID hit 2 weeks later.
That's exactly how it happened with me and Estella. Wow.
And so I got to work from home for just a little while, but July 2020, we were back full time in the office.
Wow.
So there was only a couple months where I was working from home.
Okay. So the shutdown, I guess, happened a little bit later in Florida than it did here.
So it was in March. It shut down in March until July, and that was it for my office.
Oh, wow.
We had to go back in the office full time.
That's insane.
In July.
Wow. That's so crazy because I'm starting to remember, like, my time was around that time too. I had Estella in August of 2019, and I had 4 months of paternity leave. It was really 12, but then my bosses were so understanding. They were like, if you want, but of course the rest after the 12 months, the 12 weeks, it was no pay. But
mine was all no paid.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my gosh,
Unpaid
that's so
maternity leave.
nice. That needs to change. That is, so I'm guessing it's different in every state. It's different in every state. That's so, even as a public defender, even as a person working
government employee.
Wow.
It was just the 12 weeks of FMLA leave that you get, that they can't give your job away while you're gone.
But that's
all I got. Mm-hmm.
That's so
unpaid.
crazy.
I at least had I had disability insurance that I had paid for extra that I had started about a year before we had Judah, so that kicked in. So I got the disability insurance.
I did the same thing. During my pregnancy, I had to leave my job, so I had the disability insurance kick in, and then by the time the 12 weeks of maternity leave were over, the disability kicked in. And yeah, I went back January of 2020, and then February of 2020, everything shut down for us. And then I never went back to work, but I was working from home.
Right.
You're saying you had to go back in July.
I had to go back. I had to go to the jails. I had to, be in the courtroom. So I was in the jail, like masked, all these things, trying to make sure, because COVID was rampant in the jails.
Yeah.
But I had to meet with my clients because they deserve to have representation. And so for a while it was video that we were meeting with them. And then we got like all sorts of like a clear mask and regular mask to meet with them inside, because they would have to sign things and we'd have to talk to them. And you want to make sure that nobody can overhear what you're talking about because it's confidential. So the videos became difficult to do a lot.
Wow, that's incredible. And that kind of also resonates in like our life now. Like whether we're sick, whether the kids are sick, we have to show up to them because they deserve to have that person supporting them. But that's so amazing that you, even pregnant, went and did all of that. That's so crazy. A little bit about your pregnancy, since it was during such a crazy time, COVID, and you working in this intense environment. How was your pregnancy?
So I had my first pregnancy was rough in that I was working full time and I was in court a lot, and kept having moments where I would almost pass out. And so we ended up in the ER multiple times, but it turned out I had gestational diabetes. So it was like if I was eating and then it was spiking my blood sugar.
Right.
So that part was rough. It was disappointing for me. At the end of my pregnancy, I was like 2 weeks away from my due date. I was in a trial that was punishable by life, this client. And this was a case I worked on for a long time. He was very young, 17 or 18. And this was a trial we were going to win. It was this was a very important case to me. And I started having contractions in the middle of our jury selection.
Oh my God.
And I was just like, I don't know what to do, because if I say now I have to continue this, then the state's going to get to push it for a while and not do this case. We'd already pushed it like a year and a half. And so I ended up in the hospital that day. They had to continue the trial out so he could get a different attorney to help him. I felt horrible about it. And it was just some like problems that I was having because I had walked a lot the day before, so I had contractions.
I mean, we'd like never know.
Horrible. No.
When the baby wants to come, they want to come.
But they didn't come for 2 more weeks.
Are you serious?
1 more week at that point.
Oh my gosh. So it was a false alarm.
False alarm.
Oh my God.
But I did have to stay in the hospital for a little bit, so it wasn't like totally, a mistake to leave and go to the hospital.
Yeah.
But I felt horrible about the case having to be pushed off because of it. But
I remember my time as being a full-time working mom while I was pregnant. That balance between putting yourself first, but also making sure that you don't fall behind at work. It's so stressful.
Yes.
It is a lot of pressure on somebody who shouldn't be having all of this pressure because we're growing a baby.
Right.
How did that pressure kind of translate after you had Judah?
So during pregnancy, my office was quite understanding because I had a lot of appointments after the gestational diabetes. Because I had to leave, because I was so high risk at the end, I had to take a week before I gave birth. That's why I only had 11 weeks, because that was part of the 12 weeks of leave I got. 1 week of that was just me pre-birth, not having time. So that's why I only got 11 weeks on the back end. You also burn up your leave when you're on the maternity leave. And so I came back with 0 days of leave left.
For that year?
I earn more per month.
Oh,
but so at least right away. So like if your child gets sick and you're like, because they're in daycare or they're with a nanny, they are around other kids, they're more likely to be sick. You're like, well, hopefully your husband can take off because you have no more leave.
Oh, and Chad was also an attorney.
And he was also an attorney.
Wow.
Luckily, we had a great nanny and it worked out. But a lot of my friends had to go straight to daycare at 12 weeks old. And then you have to try to just work around it. That part was hard. Also, if you were in trial, you can't leave, right? And so if I was in a trial and it's 6:30 at night, 7:30 at night, and we're waiting for a verdict to come back, you can't leave. So you really have to have a good partner that can also take over. And so sometimes my husband would not be in a position where he'd be able to leave. And so I'd be in a position where I'm like, do I need to find someone else to handle this trial? Because if we both get stuck at work, our kids not like going to be stuck at daycare.
Yeah.
So that pressure was definitely tough.
Wow.
I will say the good thing about being a public defender was being a government employee is they are more helpful for childcare type things like that, like having to leave than say a private office.
Right.
They can be a lot more intense.
Yeah.
So it was a better place to have kids than it would be if I went into private practice, but it was still a lot of pressure.
Yeah. Wow, that's so crazy. Tell me what it was like having those 11 weeks with Judah, knowing that at the end of those 11 weeks, you had to take him to daycare. I can't imagine how hard that separation was for the both of you.
It was definitely a hard separation. We luckily ended up taking a nanny first for a few months before we put him in daycare.
Oh, that's good.
Because our original plan was he was going to have to go to daycare. The daycare we wanted didn't open. They didn't open their classes until August. So there was like a 4-month window we needed, and I was like, I think we can swing a nanny. I think we can afford it. It would make me feel better. But it was the 11 weeks home with him. I always say the first week home with him was my favorite time ever because it was just my husband, him, and me in our little home. I blocked out the windows. We slept in the family room. We watched TV all day, nursed a baby, and hung out, and we did nothing for a week.
That's amazing.
And I was like, that was just like a vacation. It was amazing.
And you got to turn off the lawyer part of you, the work part of you, and be 100% dedicated to the baby, to being new parents with Chad.
The hard part of going back was I was taking over someone's caseload who was leaving, and she left Friday, and I was starting back Monday. Well, I had to be in court on Monday prepared for a bunch of case hearings. Oh my God. But I'm technically not supposed to work on my maternity leave. And I'm like, how do you expect me to be ready on Monday for court without prepping over the weekend and reading all these cases? So I had to work that weekend leading up, which shouldn't have to, but I had to, and I wasn't going to let the people be
You weren't going to show up
represented.
Unprepared on the first week back to work after the 11 weeks.
That part was hard.
That I can definitely understand, because I had a very similar thing. I was gone for 4 months, and when I came back, I knew it's crazy, right? You get all this time, right, with your baby afterwards, but you know that the time that you're not there, you're going to have to make up for it when you get back.
Yes.
So it's just like, it's a blessing and it's a curse in the sense where, like, you're going to be so overwhelmed when you get back to work. And plus you have all that time where you've shut off that part of yourself that you have to kind of like turn yourself back on. And I feel like that's what's hard about being a full-time mom and also being a full-time worker, having to turn off, turn on, turn off, turn on, and sometimes have both of them on at the same time. Tell me how you kind of figured out a good balance between that once you went back to work.
It was tough for a while because my breastfeeding son decided he would not take a bottle.
Oh my gosh.
And despite how much we tried and worked with him, he just wouldn't. And he would hold out all day. So then I would be nursing him all night. And then he would just not eat during the day. So it was like I was pumping at work, trying to keep up my supply. He wasn't drinking it, so it was useless. I'm like, what is happening? And then I was up all night with him. And so I think around 6 months when he started incorporating food as well is when I was starting to get more sleep and feel better about it. And like I've always been pretty good at turning my mind off at the end of the day because of the job that I had. You could think about it and work on it forever. There was always going to be something that you could do in some case. There was never going to be enough. You do what you can. And so I was pretty good at turning my mind off and being like, nope, we're done for today. And you just had to. It's a coping mechanism for that type of job. Otherwise, you just go crazy and burn out so fast.
Yeah.
So luckily, I was good at that.
Oh my gosh, that's so good.
It was
I don't know that I would be able to do that. That's why I'm saying, just even thinking about the idea of turning on, turning off at such a like high stakes job that consumes a lot of your, not just your mental capacity, but your emotional capacity. You're very passionate about what you do and about your clients. So just like kind of leaving that at work and not bringing it home and going back to the breastfeeding and the taking care and learning how to be a parent, that is so hard and so admirable too.
It is one skill that I was good at that really made it easier for transitioning when I went back. And I was pretty good at just setting it down and being like, we can worry about this tomorrow. This is a tomorrow problem. Because if I didn't, I would just gone crazy.
Wow. I feel like you have a lot in common with Jared in that sense, my husband, because he's also very, very good at kind of that coping mechanism, like you
and
said.
Compartmentalizing, right? Like, this is a work problem, this is a home
That's one
problem.
of the words I cannot say. How do you say it?
Compartmentalizing?
Compartmentalizing. That's exactly the word that I was thinking, but I was like, I know I'm going to screw it up. So, yes, exactly. It is so important to have that skill, and not everyone can do that. I am somebody who is not able to do that, but it also has to do with I'm an empath. So for me, when I feel things, I feel them like 100%, and it's hard for me to like move on and kind of not let that leak into like my next chapter or the next thing I have to do.
I deal with that because I'm also very empathetic to people, which is why my career was really important to me.
Yeah.
But that was like the one area where I was pretty good at being like, I have to let this go because this isn't mine.
Yeah. That's amazing. I love that. I say that all the time. Like, that's what I want to work on in this podcast, about like kind of helping moms find those coping mechanisms and realizing that a lot of the things that they carry that people don't see, which is like emotional and like spiritual stuff, it doesn't belong to them. It doesn't belong to you. And you have to kind of find it in yourself to be like, okay, this doesn't belong to me. How can I get rid of it? This energy, this worry, this trauma. These are things that we need to individually kind of look within ourselves and be like, okay, I don't have enough space in my life for this right now. Let's get rid of this. Let's turn this off and direct our energy somewhere else.
You know, I was much better at that in my career than I am as a mom.
I completely agree.
It is 100%.
Much harder. I am really good at that in all other aspects of my life.
Right.
But motherhood, because we have such a connection to it, it's an extension of us. Our kids are an extension of us. So it's hard to turn those things off. It's hard. To go out to dinner with friends and not talk about your kids and not think about your kids and not worry about your kids. So how did your job kind of help you learn how to do that with Judah when in those beginning stages?
You know, I don't know that I was good at it then. I don't think I was. It was hard. I wasn't great. I always worried that I was doing the wrong thing, taking him to daycare instead of being home. Mom guilt no matter what.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah.
And then when I'm home with him, it's like, now I feel guilty that he's not doing the fun things he was doing at school.
Right. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Right.
That is like the mom slogan.
Yes, it is. It is. And I feel that still to this day. It's like, we're at home and he's like, well, I do this at school. And I'm like, great, I'm sorry.
Yeah, or I want to be at aftercare. It's more fun at aftercare. And I'm like, oh,
right. I'm glad that I quit my job to be home with you for you to not want to be home with me.
To not want to be, exactly. Oh my gosh.
But then if they had to be in aftercare every day, they'd be like, why can't I be home with you?
Right. And it's hard finding, like, a lot of the times you want to give them what they want. You want to, do what's right for them. But then you also have to take into consideration what is right for you and what you can handle.
That part I'm not great at.
I'm not good at it either. And I don't think it's about like being great at it. It's about being enough. I think that is a huge thing that I've learned about that transition from being at work to being a stay-at-home mom, because I was incredibly confident in my job.
Yes.
I was an associate financial advisor. Right. I had been doing it for about 5 or 6 years already. I had like the routines and I knew what to expect in a lot of sense.
And you knew what you were talking about.
Right. And then when I got home, I could kind of like shut that off and not worry about work. But when having kids, it's just not that easy. No. It's not that easy, and you don't feel that confidence that you felt in your career.
I don't ever feel confident about any decision I make in motherhood. It's so hard because I'll be like, was that the right thing to do? Was this timeout that I gave my kid like, was this the wrong thing? Have I damaged him now? Because I've been told that timeout's damaging, but I didn't know what else to do in this particular situation. And then your kid just like walks by and they're like, hey, and you're like, oh, I guess you seem fine, even though I'm over here in constant turmoil.
Exactly. And I feel like a lot of moms from our generation feel that way because I feel like a lot of the moms that raised us didn't have to worry about that. It was I think a lot of it was black and white back in the day.
And
it was
I
like
think
wrong and
social
right.
media has also added to that because we see so many things on social media about like, this is the way to parent now.
Gentle parenting and this parenting and
try these phrases with your kids. And then my kid laughs at me and I'm like, great, this isn't working.
Exactly.
This isn't anything like they said it was going to do. And so we're constantly comparing ourselves to these moms that we see a 5-second snippet on Instagram.
Right.
Too.
They have it all together.
Right.
Even the moms we see at school, like, oh, she's got it all together. She's career driven. She's got this, she's got that. But in reality, like, we don't know the amount of load that they carry internally. And that's a lot of what I wanted to kind of talk about with you in the sense of like, what we used to carry as full-time moms working, and we had this, for lack of a better term, this other purpose. We had this job, this other responsibility that had nothing to do with keeping a child alive and feeding somebody else and like being responsible for somebody else. You were responsible for other people in a different way.
I honestly think that it is harder to be a stay-at-home mom for me. I'm not saying it is for everybody.
Yeah.
I struggle with it because there isn't, in my career, there was you did good or you didn't do great at this, right? Like there was
compensation too.
There was compensation, and then there was also just like a clear, you won this or you lost this, or this was good and this was bad.
Exactly.
And now my brain is always like, wait, was that a good thing that I did? Was that a bad thing I did? Did I excel at motherhood today or did I fail at motherhood today? I don't know.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, I'm like, they're alive and they're loved. I guess I did okay. It's what I've been trying to tell myself. Like they went to bed, loved. That's the best I could do.
Exactly. And I feel like we do get that at the end of the day. I don't know about you, but once I hit my head to that pillow, that's when I start to kind of rethink everything through. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have done this. Oh, I shouldn't have reprimanded Estella for doing this or for doing that. So I completely agree with you. As my experience, being a stay-at-home mom has been a lot harder than anything I have ever done. And it's not even like for obvious reasons. There are no obvious reasons. It's not the taking care of the child that's hard. No. It's the back end stuff. It's the internal load that we carry that nobody sees and that we honestly don't speak about. Like when somebody comes up to you and asks you, hey, how's motherhood going? You know, your instinct is to be like, oh, it's great. I love my kids. I love being at home with them. How is it not having a job? It must be so nice. Oh, yes, it's wonderful. And it is. It's so amazing. Our kids are so blessed that they have that full-time care of their mother.
Yes, it is. That is the best part, right? Like
it is.
We're there for them and we can be there for them.
And it's amazing that we don't have to worry about, training somebody else to do the right thing with their kids. You know, you are the one who gets to call the shots, basically. But also, you're also going to be the one responsible for whatever wrongs that you do. Or
I'm also the one calling the shots, which means if they're wrong, they're wrong.
If they're wrong, they're wrong. It's all on us. And that is hard. They call us the default parent. Yes. And we're lucky enough to have very supportive partners, husbands. Like, what would we do without them? But it is a heavier load that we have to carry because we are the full-time parent. Can you tell me a little bit about how, I guess, much of a shock that was for you to
Sure.
learn once you had Judah and you stopped working?
Yes, I think when it was just me and Judah, I was a little bit more confident in what I was doing. I had like set us plans. Like we wake up, we're going to read some books. We're going to go to the park. We come home, we eat lunch, we do nap, we wake up and do something else and go to the park. We spend a lot of time outside because I have very high energy children.
Yeah.
Throwing a second one in the mix is really what got me, and really I felt way less confident at this point where I was just like, I'm screwing everything up. I can't get on top of anything. And I don't know why 2 kids felt like 10 kids all of a sudden when I was like, I felt like I finally, one was hard. It was hard at first, right? I was like, what do I do with you? Am I giving you enough enrichment? Am I teaching you enough that you would be learning if you were in daycare?
Right.
Those sort of things. But like I got in a groove where I felt like I knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
And as soon as I had a second kid and the first kid changes and you're like, you're a different child than you were when I left to go to the hospital.
Right. Oh my God. And it's like every couple of months.
Yes.
It's like a new routine, a new thing. Like they're completely different people. They have all these different stages of them. Exactly.
And so throwing in that second one is really what I constantly questioned, and because they both require 2 different things too.
Yeah.
No, but they don't need the same thing at the same time ever.
Yeah.
So I'm always questioning, like, have I read to you enough so that you're starting to get words? I know I read to you all the time, but like, what about your sister? Do I ever read to her? She just tears the books apart. So that's really hard. And it's like,
yes.
So then I just start to stress, like, oh my gosh, she's going to be less prepared for life because I haven't done any mathematic, things with her. And I'm like, okay, she's 2.
So basically what you're saying is you went from giving your full self to one child.
Yes.
And then literally splitting yourself apart.
Right.
Without knowing that you had to do that, because nobody prepares you for that. You can read as many books as you want about having the second kid or the third kid. But I agree. I totally agree. That's what my experience was. Right. And for us, because our kids are almost exactly the same age, they're almost 4 years apart, right? And we had so much time with that first child. And they had such a privilege of just having you and you and your attention on them. But then the second one, it's so hard because the mom guilt doubles, because you're like, am I giving this child enough of myself?
Yes.
And feeling guilty because the first one got all of you.
Right.
And then the second one, you have to dedicate a lot of it to your first child too. Right. And not to mention,
they still need you, but they need you.
Exactly. And like you said, they both have different schedules. Judah was 4, Mia was a newborn baby. Those are completely different stages. How were you able to kind of figure out that way? Was it easier with Chad being a little bit more involved, or did you feel like it was more like, no, I got it, let me just figure this out on my own?
No, I definitely leaned on him so much. It was like, I need you to take over parental duties on a bunch of things that I've been doing, which he was happy to do. But with the first, I don't mind putting the bed every night. What does that matter? What else am I going to be doing?
Right.
So they get used to it and they get used to you. And he's happy to put him to bed, but I want mommy. It's like, okay, I'm right here. There's no problem. But now it's like, okay, but I'm with this other child, so I can't put you to bed. So you kind of have to be with your dad for now. And I think that Judah, being the first kid, his relationship with his dad got a lot deeper once Mia came, because he was spending even more time with him. And they spent a lot of time. He was a very present dad.
Yeah.
But now he had to be present, like more important things like doing bath time or doing bedtime, where I could have swooped in and easily taken over before, because he'll fall asleep faster if I just go in.
Exactly.
Then we might have some time together. Where now it's like, you need to take over this. We don't have an option.
Right. And it helps that he is the eldest and the boy too, because he got that connection with dad. I feel like for me it was different. I feel like Jared put more effort into helping with the baby than with Estella, because I had those 4 years with Estella. It was a hard transition for her in that sense, where like we had a little bit of a trial with getting the dog, which was nice.
Yes.
Getting Bruno right before having Lucas helped Estella understand that, okay, there are other people that need mommy's attention and mommy's help. But nothing like another baby, like another kid. How was balancing out, you know, the new relationship with the baby, and then also with having just left your job and committing fully to being a stay-at-home mom, and having this, making sure that you still have this developing relationship with your older one, Judah, and at the same time kind of like tag teaming with Chad?
Yeah, it was tough. We were living in New York at this time now, which we didn't know anybody when we moved to New York,
Oh my gosh.
because Chad's brother had lived there, but they moved during COVID. His cousin lived there, but they also moved.
Wow.
So nobody lived there. We knew nobody.
My gosh.
So like when I was pregnant and I was like home with Judah full time, I kept thinking, if I went into labor now, what is going to happen? Am I just going to have to knock on a random neighbor's door and be like, hey, can you take my kid? I go give birth to this other kid. Luckily, we made friends with people. I found a nanny who lived with another child who was like, call me anytime. Like the kids play together. I can just take them to our apartment. Judah's best friend was 2 floors below us, and she's like, just drop him off if you need to drop him off at 3 a.m. Like, it's fine. And it all worked out. It didn't happen, but it was like a huge stress for me. Like, what if this happens?
Yeah.
But I think that it was a blessing we were in the city for that, because we were in an apartment. We made a lot of friends that were in the complex. So that part made me feel a little safer, right? We made closer friends quickly, or we at least knew people. We saw the same people every day, where I felt confident to be like, hey, if I have an emergency, can I call you?
Having a baby?
Like one of the other moms in the complex who my son played with her sons, but they had their nanny. So I only met the mom like twice, but she was like, can I put you as an emergency contact for my kids at school? Because I don't have anybody else. And I was just like, 100%. I love your kids. It's like, that's just how you have to make friends when you don't have family around. It's hard.
Right.
So that part is tough. And so it was just the 2 of us, right? That was all we had to rely on, and we had to figure it out. And so Chad only had to go to the office twice a week, or only has to go twice a week, which was nice. So he could work from home the other days. So even if he needed to take a break from work to help with the kids, to eat and get them to bed and go back to work at home, it was easier.
Right.
That was huge. The days that he had to go into the office, or still has to go into the office, those are hard. It's just me doing everything all the time.
Yeah.
But you start to just get used into your groove and figure out what schedule works for you. And if I need to stick the first one in front of a TV to go put the second one to bed, then that's what I do.
Right. We were those moms who at the beginning were like, we're never going to do this. And then like you're in the thick of it and you need the Miss Rachel. Yeah. You need Miss Rachel.
It's survival time, right? Like this is survival. Here's a TV.
Exactly.
Sorry, I'm like, I don't know what else to do, because my first has a bit of separation anxiety. So at first it was listen to your Yodo books and play with your toys. But then he'd be like, I'm alone. And if you put the TV on, he's like, okay, I'm okay. I don't feel so alone. Right. Which is like, is that great parenting? Probably not, but I'm surviving. So like they're alive. So it's great for us.
Right. And that's so hard as moms, like always are like we quickly jump to like the mentality of, is this good parenting? Is this bad parenting? But it's not so black and white. No. It's just, I feel like this new thing I've started doing is just like, is this enough? Yeah. Is this surviving? Are we doing what we can? Are they going to be okay? They're fed, they're this, they're happy. It's good. Because even though they're here, they're skipping around, you can obviously see that they're happy, healthy kids.
They're happy, healthy.
Internally for us, we're going to nitpick and be like, oh, this is this and this is that.
I think
It's
that's
hard.
another part of the like social media aspect that comes into it though. Is we have
Yes.
so much information at our fingertips, like constantly thinking like this could be damaging. It says in when they're teenagers, if they had too much TV time as a child, they could be more aggressive, and now we're all stressed about it. And it's like, or we just do what we got to do
Yeah.
to get through the day. At the end of the day, we try our best to teach our children how to be loving, empathetic people. And we can't stress about he watched Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles today. Is he going to go be a serial killer in the future? I hope not.
Is he going to go live in a sewer?
It's just like, they tell you all these horrible things are going to happen from all these different things. Now it's, if you gave him something with red dye 40, now he's going to be, act out and be horrible. And it's like, you know what? I try to give him the dye-free stuff at home. He's at a birthday party. I'm not going to be pulling everything out. I'm just not that mom.
Yeah.
And there are moms who can do it, and that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I can't. I don't have the capacity for that.
Yeah.
And so it's just not happening.
And I feel like that's what people need to hear. We need to talk about how, it's great. We have all of this information, all of these resources available to us. Yes, knowledge is power, but you also have to keep in mind that everybody's situations are different. Everybody's kids are different.
Yes.
Everybody's lives are different, and the environments and the generations that we're in. So we just have to, like you said, survive and do enough.
Right.
And kind of just keep going with what works for every person. And sometimes talking about our experiences also not just has other moms feel like, oh, we're not alone. Oh, that's me too. But it could also help them understand like, oh, okay, so I'm on the right path. This is something that Stephanie tried. This is something maybe I can try, because it seems like we kind of had similar lives or similar ways of thinking.
Even if they say, oh, Stephanie did that and that was stupid, so I'm not going to do that, that's okay with me,
or
right?
Like they can
learn from what I did. That's fine with me.
Exactly. Learn from each other's mistakes.
But
they were mistakes that we made and that we learned from, and we move on and we keep going. Let's talk about what was the hardest part about you leaving that version of yourself. Now that you've been a full-time mom for a while now, and that you're like in the thick of this career, because it is a different career path, right? What do you realize now has been the hardest part about leaving that version of yourself?
I think the most difficult part is not having any feedback or scale to know that I'm doing well or I'm not doing well. And as well as not having any adult like interactions. Those are probably the two hardest things, right? I don't know what I'm doing right or what I'm doing wrong, because there's not really anything to tell me at the end of the day. I could have been the fun mom all day. We did everything the kids wanted to do, and they're crying at the end of the night. And I'm like, I thought I was doing the right thing.
Yes.
Or I could have screamed all day, and an hour later, my son will walk up and be like, hi, Mommy, I love you. And you're like, great, I love you too. So you're like, now I feel like I'm doing the right thing, but I felt like I was doing the wrong thing.
It's a roller coaster.
It is a roller coaster, and there's no like, I made a salary, I got
recognition.
Raises, I got, recognition. I knew what I was doing right when I was in my career before. And now I'm like, am I doing this right? I have no idea.
Yeah. I mean, our kids are a reflection of what we do with them, who we are. And I'm going to say Judah and Mia are such beautiful little kids. I will tell you, you are doing, from one mom to another, you are doing a phenomenal job, Stephanie. That's why I wanted you to be in my first episode.
I'm glad that somebody thinks so.
No, and you're totally right. If we can't get that recognition from our kids because, they're too little, and we shouldn't expect that from them.
No, that's not, their job is not to make us feel good about what we're doing.
Exactly. But it is important for us to have maybe even a small community, whether it's just you and me, one friend, one mom friend who understands that recognition, whether it's vocal, whether it comes in, representation of like what your kids are, whether it's them winning that karate award, or them being able to read one word. Like, we get those tiny moments, but they come sporadically. They don't come sometimes when we need them. And tell me about like the emotional roller coaster that we spoke about. Like, how does that kind of impact the way that you parent and just the way that you are as a woman?
I had like anxiety when I was younger, and then I really got a hold of it, and I dealt with it. Like, I didn't feel like I was anxious even through law school, even through working. Like, all that stress was gone. And then, like, being a full-time stay-at-home mom, I'm like, that anxiety is heavy on me again. And I'm like, why? I'm not doing anything stressful, but yet I'm doing everything is stressful. Because even though it's the tiniest decisions, one, it's a million decisions all day. And like, two, they add up. And so it just, you're like, this one little decision might affect my child today. If I decided I'm going to take a breath and we're going to deal with this one way, or you've pushed my buttons too much and I've now raised my voice and we're dealing another way, that little moment in time could now set the rest of the day. And it's the anxiety that comes with that of like, I need to regulate myself all the time in order to teach my children to regulate themselves. And it's not easy.
No. And it's hard to preach, to preach what is the saying? Practice what you preach, right? We're teaching our kids that you have big feelings. Let's deal with the big feelings. In the meantime, internally, we're like ready to explode. So it's hard to teach that to our children, and then also put that into practice with us for our mental health and for our physical health too, because it's all connected.
It is all connected. And I think it's also easier to give grace to other moms than yourself, right? If I saw another mom like breaking down and yelling at their kid, I'm like, man, they're probably having a hard time. I break down and yell at my kid, I'm like, I'm a horrible mother. What have I done? And it's like, we just have put so much internal pressure. It's not an external factor. It's mostly internal. But it's a constant pressure to do the right thing.
Pressure, that the anxiety that comes with it, the guilt too. All of these emotions that, yes, they sound negative, and yes, we wish that we didn't have to feel this way, but it comes with the job of being a stay-at-home mom, because you don't have you never get to clock out, first of all.
Never.
I think that's one of the hardest things
Definitely.
For me, as being a stay-at-home mom, not being to clock out. Yes, you put the kids to sleep, and I am so impressed by moms and any parent that can shut off completely after putting the kids to sleep. But I know that that's not my truth.
No.
Like, I cannot.
No.
I could be sitting in front of the TV and watch a whole entire episode of a show and have no idea what I just watched, because my head was still somewhere else. I have to make an appointment for Estella. I have to do this. Tomorrow I got to do the recycling. Tomorrow I got to do this. So it's just... It doesn't all revolve around taking care of the kids.
Right. It's that, what is the internal load of everything that needs to be done? I'm blessed. My husband's really great at those things that I am not good at, like taking out the trash or the recycling.
Same with Jared.
I have a blind spot for laundry. Our laundry machine is in the basement. So like, it is something that if I'm not seeing it, I forget it, and I constantly forget laundry.
That's my least favorite thing to do, by the way.
I also hate it as well. But like, so my husband stays up late because he likes to watch TV and capture some of his alone time now that he's worked all day. And I'll wake up and he'll have done 3 loads of laundry and folded it all. And I'm like, I feel horrible. And he's like, why do you feel horrible? I'm like, because I should have done that. And he's like, why do you think you should do it? And I'm like, because I'm here and you're working. And he's like, I live here too. I can do laundry. And I'm like, you're right. But like, the pressure on myself to do it is there.
Right.
Even though, yeah, he lives here too. He can do the dishes after we go to bed, and he's fine with that because he lives here and he's a part of this family.
Right.
But I have an internal pressure where I'm like, but wait, I'm the stay-at-home parent. I'm supposed to be taking care of the house and the kids. And he always tells me, your job is the kids. We can deal with the house together. But your job is to take care of our children, and they are not easy to take care of.
Yeah.
Like, and you can't just set them in a room and walk away.
Yeah.
You know, our youngest isn't even 2 yet. So we're not at the point where we can just go play in your room, goodbye.
Exactly.
And so we have to keep an eye. Even if I can set her and play by herself, she doesn't want that, first of all. So if I'm doing laundry, she's throwing everything that I'm folding, and it's like, okay,
it's harder.
This is not helpful.
Yeah.
Right? And he's always like, I can do it faster. I can get it done. Stop stressing about it.
Yeah.
But I can't stop stressing about it.
No, of course. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's an ongoing thing, the guilt. Even when we have these incredibly supportive partners who are willing to take things off of our plate, a lot of it also has to do with control. Like, I'll admit it, like, because of how demanding our job as a stay-at-home mom is, and the majority of the days it's us making decisions for everybody else in the household, whether it be, you know, the kids or the dog or, you know, helping out our husbands with, you know, the appointments and the plans and what we're going to do and the vacations. It's all us. And it's hard to kind of share that control with somebody else because you're so used to being responsible for that control.
Right. You have the list in your head of what needs to get done, and it's hard to be like, I'm going to give you this part of the list because you're like, it's all internal, right? It's all things that I've been thinking about. So to just let it go is hard. Yeah. And be like, I need you to do this, this, and this. That's all I need. You know, but then you feel guilty, like, oh, now I'm asking for things, and now...
Oh, and then asking for help. Right. That's like a whole other
not great
story.
At that.
Yeah, I am not good at allowing other people to help. If it gets to the point where I need the help, I need, you know, my parents to come in, I feel like, okay, you're gonna come and babysit the kids, like, it's okay, I'll pay you, like, and I just feel like it's not their responsibility to take care of my kids. No. It's not their responsibility to you know, step in when my husband's not able to be there for me. But at the same time, it's like we need the help, and we need to be okay with asking for help. And I know it's hard for you because you don't have the family. It's easier to ask family for help than it is for friends.
And I had to do it. I had to ask you for help, and it killed me.
No!
Even though I know it shouldn't, right? Like, I shouldn't, because we're friends and it's no big deal.
Get it.
But it was hard, right? Because I didn't want, I'm like, I'm putting something on somebody else that I don't want to do.
I know. But it's something that we need to kind of rewire ourselves and say, it's okay. Yeah. And kind of selfishly, we need to think about, like, how is this going to help us? Just us, you know, like, we know that this person is going to come and help and take care of the kids, and the kids are going to be taken care of. But this is also taking care of you. Right. You know, you wouldn't be asking for help if it wasn't for an emergency, you know, a doctor's appointment, even self-care, like going to get your nails done, doing these things. And we have to be okay with asking help. It doesn't make us less of a mom. It doesn't make us less of a woman, because it also plays into, you know, our gender roles and the way that we might have been, you know, raised. I know I was raised from very young to have that gender role. I learned how to cook when I was younger, you know, help my mom around the house, clean, and society too. Society tells us, okay, you're going to take on the role of being a stay-at-home mom, then you have to be prepared to be responsible for everything under this house.
A cleaning lady, a chef.
Exactly. We're entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs. We're everything. But one person cannot do that. And at the same time, raise kids to be smart and gentle and you know, athletic and healthy. So it's it's okay to find that village, to find the friends, and to find, especially mothers. Mothers will always understand you, like always understand you. But it is hard. It is hard to accept the help, to ask for the help, and to just be okay with having somebody else, you know, throw them that lifeline when you need it. And I'm always going to be here for you.
And me as well.
I loved taking care of the kids. You know, it was amazing. And it takes, I think it takes that one mom or those two moms. It's kind of like I want it to be that little chain, you know, I'm here helping you. I don't want anything in return. Just kind of maybe find a way to help another mom, whether it's giving her a call and giving her advice, or like the other day, I went to Nordstrom Rack with Lucas because it's been a year now that I've been saying, I need to get new clothes for myself. I lost 65 pounds and I'm literally a parachute in everything I wear. And on Monday, I just said, you know what? I'm just going to go and take Lucas. I'm going to go buy myself some tops and it's going to happen. Good. And while I was there was a mom with a little boy as well. And her son was losing it, having a tantrum.
And we've all been there.
We've all been there. We've all been there. But I felt for her. You know, and people who haven't been parents for a while or aren't parents yet or are older too, the first thing they see is, oh, that poor little boy. Right. But the first thing that I felt was that mom.
I know.
Because I saw her. I saw her struggling. I saw her struggling to regulate his emotions, to regulate her emotions because she was embarrassed.
I was going to say, it's embarrassing and stressful because now you think everyone's looking at you.
And you can't, you know, be yourself, you know, you can't lose it. You can't lose it in a public place, you know, and I felt the need. I was like, I'm going to go up to her and tell her that she's doing a great job. And I went up to her and I said, hey, you're doing a great job, Mama. And the way she looked, I'm telling you, the way she looked at me was that validation. Right. That small thing, but in her eyes and in her, it was a huge validation. Yes. It didn't stop. The kid didn't stop losing it, obviously, but it helped her have more patience with him. It gave her that validation, like, I'm doing okay.
And confidence that she needed.
Right, exactly. And I feel like that is what we need. We need moms to be vocal and to talk to other moms and validate each other, because if we don't, then we can't expect anybody else to validate us, honestly. And we have to find it in ourselves too, to validate ourselves.
Self-validation is important.
It's hard. It's hard though, with all the noise that we have going on in our heads as it is, having that moment to kind of just stop and either, for me, meditation has been huge. Taking 5 minutes, whether it's, I know Lucas, I put him in his playpen, I go to the bathroom and I sit there and I'm like, I need 5 minutes. 5 minutes to find a way to regulate myself. 5 minutes to get a pillow and scream into the pillow, whatever it is that kind of helps you release. Yep. And then you're back in it. And it's like the small
I've started doing audiobooks.
Yes.
One earpod in, listening to just a fun little audiobook. Doesn't have to be anything serious, right? Just something listening. We're playing dolls. Yeah, we're playing dolls. This is great. I am listening to a book because this is just giving me a moment. She doesn't really care what I'm doing. She just wants me to sit there. Right. And now I feel like I'm getting a break. I'm getting something that I enjoy. I'm listening. And it's just a mental break for me.
Yeah, that's music for me. Like, I'll do with my headphones too. I'll listen to music, and finding music that kind of helps me get to, you know, I'm not listening to like punk rock or anything crazy like that, because then that's just gonna, you know, boost up my cortisol. And so I listen to Enya, or I even sing to myself or hum to myself. That's something that my therapist helped me to regulate my emotions and just kind of like balance myself out when we're in the middle of it. We don't have time to walk away. There are a lot of moments where we want to walk away and just like scream, but we can't. So humming has been a thing. Not good. Humming any specific tune or anything, just going is that vibration, the humming vibration, it kind of like, it's like a soft shake that helps regulate your body and your mind. And that's been working really well for me. Great. So things like that, it's okay. It's okay to do those things during the day to help yourself regulate. Of course. You have to find ways to have to get through the day. Exactly. Or we were talking the other day, like shower time. That's our time. Yes. Shower time is our time. Small moments during the day that kind of help us like bounce back. Yes. We're always going to keep going up, but like just little moments during the day to kind of do that. And you learn tricks from this is one good thing about social media. You learn tricks for things to do with kids, keep them occupied and give yourself a moment. Like I learned about popsicle baths. Oh my gosh. You just stick the kids in the bathtub with a popsicle and they're entertained, but they're not getting all messy everywhere because they're in a bathtub. Just like popsicles? Yeah, just like eat a popsicle, right? Like they eat a popsicle in the bathtub. Oh my gosh, that's brilliant. Now they're not dirty. Yeah. Right. There's a... Now I'm going to feel bad because I forgot. There's like some toddler play. No, I can't remember her Instagram. Saw it on there and I was just like, genius. That is now something I do quite often. So it's not all bad when it comes to social media and stuff. Not. We have to pick and choose. There are some really good tricks out there. Like I know Dr. Becky. I don't know if you've listened to Dr. Becky. She's amazing. She has a lot of really cool tricks and I see her Instagram and her TikTok. So it's just, it's about finding what works for you. Yes. But sitting there and accepting it and like staying in that hole where your day is just one day after another, you feel this way. Yeah. It doesn't have to be that way. No. You can find small ways. Even with not having the time, it's just small ways to regulate yourself. That's so important. And it's easy to fall into the monotony of things, right? Like, I did the dishes yesterday. Have to do them again today. Have to do them again tomorrow. Like, that's just going to keep coming. And so you definitely have to learn some ways to change it up. And to keep yourself, like, mentally there, right? Yeah. Like, I'm drowning because I'm doing the same thing I did yesterday, or I vacuumed the floor yesterday. Now it's full of Cheerios again. I'm vacuuming it again today. And it just, it doesn't stop. It's a never ending task. So there's no like, oh, I completed this task feeling. Yeah. So I have found things like coloring. Mm-hmm. Like I have coloring books. Adult coloring. Yeah. Yes. I love adult coloring. Because it's a finished product that I see at the end that gives you a sense of, I completed something. Yeah. Because we never complete what we're doing because it's a job that just keeps going. Yes. So having something that you can see like a finished product as simple as a coloring book is it helps. Right. There's no timeline. It could take you a whole entire week to color a whole entire page, but you did it. And then the end product is... And you see it. And then you're like, I finished. Exactly. And it's a feeling. Because there's definitely a release of good feelings, right? When you have a finished product that you did, which isn't easy to do when your day is feeding somebody else, playing with someone else, and like cleaning the house that's going to be cleaned again tomorrow. There's no finished product that you see. So that's always a good thing to have. It's something to work on for you, something that's just a fun little project that doesn't, it doesn't have to be the monotony. Yeah, you're so right. Like having a little bit of change every day, and it's okay. Like, oh, today I don't want to do the dishes. It's okay to not do the dishes if it means that instead of doing the dishes, you're going to spend that time, doing something else for yourself or something else that's going to help, your day to day. And those little moments of like taking 10 minutes to do some coloring or taking 10 minutes to call up your friend. It could be in 10 5-minute increments. You don't have to plan it out. It could be spontaneous because that's what we need. Yes. We need spontaneity.
Just to decide, I need this right now, so I'm doing this for me.
Yeah, exactly. One last thing I want to touch on is being a stay-at-home mom does not mean that the ambition is gone. It just means that you have to find ways to transform that ambition somewhere else. Sure. Going from putting all of your ambition into your career, into something that was so concrete, to now kind of finding ways of putting that ambition on other things aside from being a parent.
Yes, it was definitely hard because I was ambitious and I worked really hard. I very much am I need to do things myself and I need to succeed by myself in order for it to feel good, right? I needed to get a job away from my dad's world because it just felt right for me. Yeah. Right. And I could have worked there, but I needed to do it myself. Right. So going from working so hard on one thing and now being like, I'm working hard at this, but what am I getting out of it? And it feels odd. But yes, you have to remain ambitious because the kids' lives are at stake here. Yeah. We're raising them, right? And so I've just channeled it in different ways. I take some of my creativity. I was always a crafter. So now I make things, like I said, the coloring books, but I have a Cricut machine and I'll make T-shirts for my kids, things that I think are just
DIY
fun.
projects.
DIY projects that I see online and I'm like, I could do that. That could be fun. And so cool. I do that. And I do a lot of crafts with my kids at home because that's just one of the things that I excel at, right? Different moms have the different things that they're good at. Crafting and baking with my kids, I do a lot of.
I am not good at doing either of the two.
I think you're probably a great crafter. I haven't had your baking.
No, you will never have my baking. Hispanic women don't bake.
I brought cupcakes for your kids to decorate, for Valentine's Day. Because it's just something fun for me because I get enjoyment out of baking some cupcakes and decorating. I get enjoyment from doing that with my son and with my daughter now. She's finally getting to a point where she's a little more helpful. Yeah. Judah definitely picked that up a lot sooner. At 18 months, he was stirring for me and things like that. We have a lot of fun with that. And we do a lot of paint projects at my house. I have paint mats I set out and I give them different wooden things or rocks or just different things to paint. We have painted ice before. I have put ice in a bucket and let them paint on it. It melts, so who cares? But
so cool.
It kept them entertained and it was entertaining for me because it was this is something new to try and we get to see a project out of this. And Judah always asks, can we do a project today, Mommy? Can we do a project today? So amazing. I'm always coming up with sure, we can do a project. Let's just throw some stuff together and see what happens. Yeah. So we do that a lot. And this Friday, we make challah most Fridays for Shabbat. Yeah. And this Friday, Judah goes, I want to braid it. And he braided it perfectly. I was like, you did amazing. Wow. And so I finally starting to see these payoff of him letting them be involved in these things too, which is they see me doing these projects all the time. Yeah. They want to do these projects. And now I'm seeing them grow to do them as well. It's really fun. And that makes it definitely enjoyable.
Yeah. And they're important skills to have too. Right. And having it make it be fun, a fun activity and a memory that they're going to be able to remember growing up and saying, I used to do this with my mom. Yeah. That is so cool. And I think that's one of the wonderful things about being a stay-at-home mom. Definitely. Is that a lot of our passions and a lot of our, careers that we used to have, a lot of our ambition that we used to have, it's not gone just because we stopped working.
Nope.
We just have to find ways of incorporating that into our day-to-day lives with our kids. And it's a way of teaching them how to be creative and how to be messy and how to, teamwork too.
And even to overcome failures, because there's a lot of times where
That too.
my son wants something to look the way that he has it in his brain, and it's not coming out on paper. So like teaching him, it's hard. Like, and I could say, I'm like, I know this is frustrating because I cannot draw. And so when he asks me to draw a dinosaur, and I'm like, that's what I've got, kid.
Yeah.
And then he tries and he's in tears, and I'm like, it's got 4 legs and a long neck. It looks like a dinosaur to me. Like, maybe we just keep practicing. And, those are things that we're teaching them as much as we are just getting some enjoyment from our lives.
Exactly. For me, it's definitely not cooking. It's not baking. It could be cooking, actually. Cooking, I'm pretty good at cooking, but it's baking and like the craftiness of it. I'm not very good at that, but I am. What I do with my kids is more of the theater and music aspect. Whereas with Estella, I put on little shows with her.
Fun.
She pretends to be, Taylor Swift, and I'm this other singer, and then we're doing like a sing battle. Or, I'll incorporate musical theater into it. I'll teach her about a new musical, and we'll watch the musical, and then I'll teach her the music to it, and that's kind of a way of incorporating my passion of singing, of performing into my day-to-day life with motherhood, because it really does help me when I'm sure you understand, like when you're doing these activities and these things with your kids, you don't feel like you're being a mom. You feel like you're just being their friend and a team player.
And you're having fun, right? Like, it's just something fun for you. And so I feel like I'm just me having fun doing a project with these kids. Not that I'm having to mother them and be the disciplinarian and do this. We're just having a good time doing something.
And there's no purpose, you're not here to teach them a lesson. You're not here to, you don't even want them to be like the best bakers in the world. It's just about having that connection with them, and then also like filling a little piece of yourself and kind of finding those little pieces of yourself through motherhood that you used to be, of the woman that you used to be before you had kids. And it's so important to incorporate that into our lives every single day, because that's the thing that's going to keep us motivated. That's to keep going and to look forward to, like, oh, I wonder what we could do tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I was the baker in my office, right? And now I'm the baker at home. Like, it's just something I've brought with me, and it continues with me. And it's fun. Those types of things definitely help you to keep a sense of self and a sense of ambition, because you don't want to lose that. Yeah. You don't just want to become laissez-faire and don't care about anything anymore, right? We care a lot about what's happening with these kids, and it's a good way to put all of that care into things.
It doesn't always have to involve our kids. While it's fun to have these little ambitions with them, and we also need to find that outside of our kids, whether it's what we started doing was going to the gym. That has been amazing for both of us in so many ways, where we have that time to just dedicate to ourselves and to our well-being.
I'm not even good at gym, but it's like either. I just need to go, right?
Exactly.
I just need to do something.
And we get that validation, and we get that sense of like, oh my God, just being at the gym, just getting there is, wow, such a triumph for that day. And
I like dropped a kid off, and now I'm here.
Exactly. So it's so important to kind of do those things, and that's what I felt with this podcast at the beginning. It kind of was like, oh, like a silly idea, like, oh yeah, one day. But why do I have to wait for it to be one day? Why can't it be today? Why can't I, start doing it without any expectations, without any like goals or purpose, just like what we do with our kids. Like we are not expecting them to be to bake these cupcakes and make them perfect. It's just the action of doing that and kind of filling your cup a little bit of with joy and something other than mothering.
Yes, something we could talk about another time.
Oh, for sure.
Well, say a book. I started writing a book because I was like, I thought it'd be fun to write a book.
I just started writing a book.
So I started writing it in 2020 because it was during COVID. I was bored, and then it just got like I got overwhelmed with mothering and all this stuff, and I forgot. And then recently, I was like, I'm gonna get back to this, and I've been working on it every day. And it's like, even if I only get 10 minutes today, I got 10 minutes, and I've got down to 8,000 words. Like, you know what I mean? Like I keep going and it just keeps going. And
that's so amazing. And it's like, it is about finding those pockets of times to do it. Maybe, between 2022 and now it wasn't a good time. It was chaotic, but you've learned so much from that time. And I
mean, this is like a young adult, like kids type thing. It's just nothing crazy, but it's just fun. It's something fun for me.
There's no expectations. And sometimes the best things come out of things that you don't expect them to be this huge thing.
And it's good we take leaps like you're taking.
Yes, with this podcast. And it's been really exciting because it hasn't just fulfilled me as a mom or as a woman, as a person, but it's also helped me in my relationship with Jared. It's kind of been something that we both like unexpectedly started doing together, where he's more on the technical side of things. I had no technical knowledge of this thing. Like all of this was him. So it's really cool that we could also find other people to kind of join us in, like the gym. Like we go to the gym, and maybe we could try a Zumba class together sometime at Lifetime, and just finding like those ways. Obviously, it gets a little bit easier the older the kids
that's for sure
get. It's definitely easier with Estella being in full-time school and Lucas going to school in January. But the guilt is still there. Like you always...
Right. Am I doing the right thing sending them to school?
Right.
Who
like,
knows?
I should be spending this time.
Should I be homeschooling? Like...
Right. Oh my gosh. The amount of times that I've thought about homeschooling is nuts. But no, we deserve to have that time to ourselves, to fill our cup with something else other than the joy of being moms, because we're not just moms, we're cooks too. I'm a performer, I'm a singer, I now love to do this, to talk to moms and help them speak their stories and kind of heal, and that's kind of where everybody's in their different time and everybody's going to find a way to get there.
Right.
But it's important to take those steps for self-care. Thank you so much, Stephanie,
for
being here with me and doing that and sharing your stories. We will definitely dive into more about being a stay-at-home mom. But I've loved learning about your process and how it got you to where you are right now. You're doing an amazing job.
Thank you. So are you.
Your kids are so sweet, and we're doing enough.
Yes.
We're doing enough.
Yes.
We're not perfect, but we're doing a really good job. And thank you so much for coming. Thank you. I can't wait to have you in other episodes.
Right. Thank you.